Welcome back
to the podcast. Okay, period.
Episode 2.
So episode 1, I feel like we were kind of all over the place, baby.
Yes.
If y'all felt like that, I apologize. But I just felt like we wanted to get out a bunch of different things and say so much stuff all at once. Mm-hmm. Like we were just like blurting it all out. You know what I'm saying? But I feel like this episode is honestly going to be really, really good.
Mm-hmm. I think so too.
I feel like it might be slightly controversial, but that's what I'm here for. I am here to shake it up.
Here we go again.
Everything is Disney Channel. Everything is a Disney Channel. So yeah, we're here to shake it up.
Yeah. So this will be, I think, to us a controversial topic. Yes. It has definitely been in social media for, I think, the past couple, like 2 years maybe. Yeah. This has been like the hot topic.
For sure.
For social media.
For sure. And so basically what we're going to talk about today, we're going to talk about social media, honestly. Because social media is a big part and a big portion of our lives. In some ways it's good. So I'm not completely down in social media. I see the ways in which people are able to flourish, in which, people are able to make money. That's how we're able to do our podcast. So I do see the great things about social media, how it really can add development to your life. But today we're going to talk about the other side of social media. Not really the dark side too much of social media in particular, but just how it can affect the reality versus the perception of how we view certain things, or how, one thing you say on the internet can possibly get a little bit misconstrued. That's why we got to be careful, sometimes what we're saying and how we're possibly saying it. Even though you can't say stuff perfectly, there will always be somebody that doesn't like what you said or how you said it. So it's never going to be perfect. But I think it's good to have this conversation. And basically what we're going to talk about today is submission.
Yes.
Submission.
Submission in a relationship.
Yes. I feel like sometimes this is a slightly taboo conversation. But a lot of people don't want to talk about this. They're like, submission. Especially, I feel like the women of this generation. It's like, why would you talk about that? Like, why would you say that? Like, submission? Like, who? Like, submit to who? Submit where? Especially in the climate that we're in now. Like, so many women have bossed up, have balled up. They have their own money. They have their own jobs. They have their own house, car. They have everything they need. Like, submit to what? Yes,
and for why?
For why?
For why?
Literally, for why? So I feel like, first of all, the first question that needs to be answered is submission even still relevant today? Like for real, is it still relevant today? And then
I would say yes.
You would say yes?
I think it's still relevant. But I think right now submission is taken totally out of context.
Yeah.
I think it's taken out of context. And it's basically a bad thing. To say you submit is basically to say that you're a pick-me.
Yeah.
I think both of those are tied together.
Yeah. I guess though what needs to happen is we need to define what submission probably actually is in this episode. Because I think that's why there's so much confusion on it. That's probably why so many women, especially in this generation, don't feel the need or even want to submit. Yeah. Because just the definition, how it's always been defined, has been defined in a way that kind of puts women down or makes women feel less than. And as if they're not as important as men. And that's not the case. And let's be clear, submission goes both ways. Yes. Both parties need to submit to each other in specific areas. They need to submit their trust, they need to submit their time, their energy, all of that. But we're going to get into that a little bit deeper. First, we actually want to show you guys a clip. So if you're on YouTube, you would be watching the clip right now. But if you're just listening in, you're just going to hear the voice part of the clip. It was a little piece off of, I don't know if you guys listened to Shan Boodram's podcast, Lovers and Friends. She had a guest on, and her guest kind of described what submission was in her relationship. So we're going to play a little bit of that for you guys. And then after that, we are going to kind of get back into our explanation of how we feel about what she said.
Does a submissive woman do for her man?
Everything.
What does that mean?
Like packing his bag, unpacking his bag, just making sure all the things that he wants. And I pretty much read his mind. So it's like, if I know you and I study you. Like, I know how you are in the morning. I know how you are about midday. I know when you're in this mood, what you need. Like, before you can ever ask me for something, I'm already on it. I mean, he's spoiled.
Is the art of submission lost?
In who? Just
in
overall?
Mainstream culture?
Yes. You know why? And I think it's because men don't make women feel safe to be that.
So after watching that clip, Evelyn, how do you feel about it?
So right off, my initial reaction to the clip was her perception of submission in general is totally off. And I think this is a lot of people's perception of submission. I think, to me, is the bare minimum.
Yeah.
So her idea of packing someone's luggage, making them a meal, just being conscious of their feelings, of what they say around this person, thinking about what to do for them because they're used to how they engage with each other on a daily basis. That, to me, does not equal submission. To me, that is a normal relationship with someone.
Yeah. And I will also say that if those are kind of love languages, like, and specifically that's acts of service.
Yes.
If you want to go deeper, like, those are just things that you would do to show that person that you love them, or if that's the way that they like to be loved, is through acts of service, then you would do those things.
Yes.
Regardless if you are a man or a woman.
And that I agree, because that is like the low level communication you'll have with a person, compromising with someone.
Yeah.
Those are things you are supposed to do in a relationship. Not to say, oh, you're supposed to pack someone's bag before they go on vacation. No, I'm just saying in general, you're supposed to be self-aware and self-conscious of who you're in a relationship with, what you do when you're around that person in a relationship. So to say that that is what sets her apart from other people is not really that special. Not trying to, dim her light, but that's not special to, like, and I think a lot of people don't realize what a relationship means when you're with someone. Yeah. And that's why I said that kind of ties into, like, the pick-me culture. She would be considered a pick-me because she is engaging in doing things that a normal person is supposed to do. But because a lot of people don't know what it means to be in a relationship, have never seen a healthy relationship, don't know what it looks like to be in a healthy relationship, communicate with someone in a healthy way, she would be considered a pick-me because she is doing something that's out of the box, out of the norm for someone. But to me, that's normal. Yeah. I'm used to seeing those type of things. I do that for other people. That's how I am with everyone around me, not just say relationship with a partner. That's how you would do with a sister, a brother, a mom. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? A cousin. Yeah. That's how you would interact with someone you love. Not even on a partner level. Just showing respect for someone. So her perception of that, to me, I think is just, it's kind of off.
Yeah. And we're definitely not trying to completely down her. Because she still made valid points. And what she said about doing all those things are great. But I think the point that we're trying to get at is what she said is not necessarily submission. Yes. What she said were things that you should just naturally feel like you want to do. So it's not that she said things that you shouldn't do. She said stuff that you should definitely do in a relationship. Exactly. But the way in which she tried to explain it, I feel, and Evelyn personally feels, was not correct. And that has absolutely nothing to do with submission. No. If we want to talk about submission and what submission really is, you actually need to go deeper. Way deeper inside of yourself. Because to pack somebody's bag, to make them a meal, does not require you to look inside yourself and actually have to do too much. Like, you actually, if you think about it, just to make a meal, just pack a bag, it doesn't make you have to step outside of your boundaries. Yeah. Step outside and make you uncomfortable. To submit to somebody, that's going to make you uncomfortable. That's going to put you on a whole different level, a whole different mindset, where you say, oh my gosh, I actually have to think about this other person other than myself. I have to let them lead.
Mm-hmm.
I have to take their feelings into consideration. I have to trust them.
Yeah, trust them fully, and even have to step back.
Yeah, making a meal for someone does not equal trusting them.
No.
Packing someone's bag does not equal trusting them.
Mm-hmm.
Submission equals full and total trust.
Mm-hmm.
That wherever you lead me in life, wherever you take me in life, I'm cool with that because I trust your guidance and I trust your direction.
And not only that, I trust myself that I've put myself in the right position to fully let myself trust you.
Yeah.
So it's not just about trusting the other person, but you also have to trust yourself to be open enough in that relationship.
Yeah.
Because that's where a lot of the issues lie, is that you're in a relationship with someone and you're questioning that person's motives. You're questioning whether this relationship is really real, whether that person is really in it for the long haul, whether you're in it for the long haul. If you're trusting someone, I feel like personally you would submit naturally.
Yeah.
You would naturally submit to that person. So you have to trust yourself that you're making the right decision, that you're in this relationship with this person for the right reasons, and that they're in it for the right reasons.
Yeah.
And you're not just settling
Right.
for something that you're not even fully comfortable with. So I think that's why the idea of submission is so scary for people, because a lot of people are just in relationships, then they don't even want to be in that relationship. Yeah. They can't even see a future with this person, but they've just settled with them.
Right. And I think going back to some of the stuff we said earlier, like, submission is actually hard.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the stuff she said, I don't want to say it's not hard, but it's not hard.
No.
Like, that's not difficult. Mm-hmm. That does not... Submission requires you to have self-sacrifice. You have to sacrifice yourself. Mm-hmm. You have to sacrifice your own individuality.
Yes.
Which is kind of what we talked about, I think, a little bit here in episode 1. Is that you have to, if you're going to be in, like, a relationship with someone else, or if you're going to, like, care about other people, you almost have to, like, get your mindset out of that individuality mindset. It's no longer a you thing. Mm-hmm. This is no longer just about you. This is about both of you. So now you have to come together as one with one mindset. And that's called submission as well. Mm-hmm. To submit to the idea of becoming one rather than being two separate people. Mm-hmm. And most people don't want to submit to that idea as well. And that's why a lot of relationships struggle. Because y'all just don't understand what submission is. And also on the other side, it's people out here telling women that they need to submit all day long, but will not tell the men what they need to do as a man.
Yes.
Like, come on, y'all. It's not just one person in this. Mm-hmm. Like, there are other people in this relationship.
Yep. And I think that's where we can kind of agree on what she said in her podcast, is where a lot of times women don't feel comfortable submitting because the guy is not doing his part on making you feel like, okay, I can trust this person and submit to this person.
Yeah.
So it definitely goes both ways.
It goes back to that lack of trust, the lack of direction, the lack of leadership. Not to say that a woman can't lead, because, I mean, a lot of people have the conversation about, which we probably will talk about in another episode, about using your feminine traits versus using your masculine traits. And technically, everyone has both some feminine traits in them and some masculine traits in them naturally. And it just depends on which perspective you're coming from at the moment. So I can be working in my masculine traits when I'm using leadership on my job. Because there I have to give direction. There I have to show leadership. People have to listen to me. People need to know that I'm confident. People need to know that I'm not taking no mess from them and they about to hear what I said and do it. That's more masculine traits, and there's nothing wrong with that. Yeah. Because that's what I need for people to be able to take me serious in the working world. On the other hand of that, I have to switch it and I have to flip it if I'm in a relationship with somebody. Yeah. And when I'm spending time with that person, I have to now tap into more feminine traits of having empathy. I have to care about that person's feelings. I have to go deeper. Yeah. I have to show kindness. I have to show patience.
A lot of patience.
And
a lot.
Honestly, men are gonna have to do the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they're gonna have to. It's fine to be masculine and strong and dominant and show leadership. You definitely need to do that.
Yeah.
But you're gonna have to show some of the other traits as well.
Yeah.
The empathy, the kindness, the patience. You're gonna have to not be so loud and aggressive when talking to your woman. So I think it's really just about finding that balance and how you both need to submit to each other in different ways.
Yeah. And I think that's honestly another topic that I think that's something we can talk to, like if we ever bring a male guest on, like the male's perspective, because a lot of men feel like they are born and have to be masculine all the time because of the society they live in.
Yeah.
They can't show, the softer side with their woman because it's frowned upon.
Yeah.
So that's another struggle that, kind of hinders a woman's submission, is when she's with a man, like you said, that just has to be masculine and dominant all the time.
Yeah.
And that does not work in a relationship with a woman.
No. You're both gonna have to give and take. Like I said, it's gonna be a change. It's gonna be like yin and yang.
Yeah.
Like, you're gonna have to, one person's gonna have to be operating from that side, and then the other person's gonna be having to operate from the feminine side. And y'all may have to switch points of views. Yeah, maybe me as a woman, I need to be operating more in the feminine.
Yeah.
And him as a man, he needs to be operating more in the masculine. But we both still need to have those traits, other traits at the end of the day, to be able to function out here in the world. Because you need all of it. It's called balance, and that's what life is about. And I think that's what improvement is about.
Yeah.
And wanting to work on yourself and change. I mean, I can honestly say that I have found myself that I definitely operate more in like a headstrong space. Because that's just how I've always been.
Yeah.
That's just how I've always grown up. When you grow up and you're taught and your parents teach you to never take mess from people, to never let people bulldoze you, never let people bother you, that's a great quality to have. That's great parenting, especially to a daughter, to make sure they're not allowing people to use them or just run over them or anything like that. But on the flip side, what you end up missing out on is how to be a little bit softer when it comes to communicating and operating with a man. You kind of miss out on simple stuff like, oh, I'm supposed to hug you. That makes no sense to me because I've been like, my mind is so far gone from stuff like that, like operating in that softer feminine side. So it's like, if people come up to me, they want to hug, I'm confused. I'm like, why do you want to touch me? Don't touch me. Because I'm so used to operating by myself. I'm so used to having to be strong enough, not show weakness. Do not let people see that they can get to you. Always be 10 steps ahead. And like I said, those are amazing qualities to have, so you do not get played out here. On the flip side, though, when you do have to submit one day, when you do have to dial it down a notch and allow the other person to lead, that's when it becomes difficult. That's when it's become hard. But that's what I know that I need to work on in the area where I have to grow. Yeah.
And I can agree with that. And I will say, for me, it's actually the total opposite. I have always, and I don't know if it has to deal with just my personality trait in general, because my parents were the same way. They taught me and my siblings to just be, headstrong, smart, don't let anybody take advantage of you. Always be a step ahead. Don't always be a leader. But I've had the personality where I've always been, on the softer side. I would say I have always operated most of my life in my feminine energy until recently. I don't think I've ever had to, overdo that masculine side. And just naturally, when it comes to relationships, I'm always the more calmer, feminine one. And I think that a lot of that comes just from my family dynamic. And I think having an older brother and a dad in the same household kind of allows you to kind of step back. Because I had a traditional household where the men took care of certain things that the women didn't have to take care of. My older brother kind of, was protected us when we were at school, this and that. So I think I've had to operate a little bit differently from that stance. Yeah. Having an older brother, having a dad who was basically, in the forefront, did what he had to do as a man, as a provider, or as they say, head of household, So I've operated and seen those roles, so it's easy for me to see that and know, okay, let me step back and, let that person, because I know that person can handle that, let me step back and let them handle that. I've seen that, so I know how that works. So I think for me, I've always just operated more of like my feminine energy.
Yeah, and I feel like that makes sense because for me, I definitely always saw my dad take care of things. Like, he always, got things done. But at the same time, I was the oldest. I'm the oldest, and then it's my little brother. So for me, nobody looking out for me. Like, there's no other sibling above me to look out for me. It's me. Yeah. I'm looking out for me, and I'm looking out for him.
And it was only 2 of you.
Yeah. So I'm doing the most, trying to watch my back everywhere I go, and watching his back everywhere he goes. So I'm doing double time work. So I think that's just how my brain naturally operates now. Where I'm like, I gotta watch my back and I gotta watch my man back. I'm watching both our backs. And it's like, I am not actually supposed to feel like that. Yeah. I'm not supposed to feel like I need to watch both our backs because he's supposed to be watching both our backs. That's your job. And
it's not to say, if I'm in a space, I've always been comfortable letting the man or the person know what's around. So an example is whenever my family and stuff would go out to eat, my dad always wanted the seat where his front was facing the door or the window entrance of a building, whether that's when we're out to eat at a movie theater, whatever it was. He always wanted his face to be in front of the door or an entrance, any exit, because he wanted to know what was coming in and out of the building. Because he wanted to know when he needed to jump into action if something ever did pop off. So I was always used to letting that person, letting that male figure be in that position to where if something happened, he was on it. Yeah. Anytime something happened, he was on it because he was always watching. So I'm used to being comfortable around people if I know that they are at that level. But that's not to say my guard is down. My guard is never down. Yeah. Because on the flip side, my parents always taught me, when you walk into the room, watch people. Look at your surroundings when you're in the room, so you know who's in the room, what they're doing, the personalities that are in their room, so you know if what you need to do if something happens. So at the same time, I'm leveled out and I'm letting that man do what he needs to do to feel like he is protecting me and to make sure I'm feeling protected. But at the same time, I'm his side. I'm making sure I'm watching what's going on beside him and behind him. Yeah. That's how I always operated.
I feel like that's a good space to be in too. And I think it's different for me, not because my dad didn't do those things, because he did. He definitely handled a lot of stuff. He worked all the jobs. My mom never. Love you, and we'll hear from y'all soon. Bye.
See you soon.